Hello everyone, welcome back to Tim's Hobby Hour. Today I'll be working on a USS Yorktown. As you can see, I did some work already on the hull. I used some Tamiya polyester putty to fill any of the gaps. This kit is from 2007, I believe, so it doesn't have a lot of quality to it. Unfortunately, all the mold gaps and everything where it mates up was incorrect. As a matter of fact, I had to use just a bunch of CA glue and CA glue accelerant in order to even hold the hull together. All the gaps were, of course, offset because of the mold. So to get the flats for the gluing areas, I ended up using a file, but it does get clogged, so you can just use a brush to clean it out. I suggest a thicker brush for this though. It's a little bit better with like a firearm cleaning brush that's got a lot thicker bristles on it. So I usually start out a build with some Altoids. I love Altoids, they're fantastic. And to get everything off, I'm going to use these God Hand nippers. I used in conjunction with a cheaper brand too, but God Hand nippers are these specific ones are the single bladed nippers. So they have one side that is just a solid face, and then the other side is bladed, so it doesn't pinch the plastic as much, and it leaves a much more clean cut. Now, if you use cheap nippers, you can use just a hobby knife to clean up the edges, or a piece of sandpaper. If it's loose, it's going to leave rounded edges, so I made a sandpaper stick by gluing it to a popsicle stick, and then you get a nice flush cut, nice face to it. So, but I still suggest the God Hand nippers. They're really good, but they do come at a price point, about $60 US, depending on if they're on sale. This was towards the end of me finishing all this. These are the cheaper nippers that I just used to cut off, and then I used the God Hand nippers to get the final cut on them. But this was quite tiring to get everything off of these runners. Now these planes still have a lot of flashing on them. These are very bad mold lines where plastic seeps through where the mold comes together. So I had to clean up all of those. But definitely save your runners. Don't just toss them away. You don't have to, but I suggest saving them for all the details that they have on them for other dioramas. As a matter of fact, I'll be using some of those in another diorama coming up soon. I was finishing up cleaning the flashing off these. I couldn't fit inside of the in between the wheels of the plane, so I just ended up using a hobby knife, cleaning that up. Now this was after everything was done. Everything was all squared away, and it was very tiring. It took me quite a few hours to finish everything, but I started putting all the pieces together, all the simple little pieces. These were the guns that went around everything. I put on the anchor and everything else. I used some tweezers because the part is so small. I was putting on the crane here, the little cargo cranes. There's two on each side. Well, not on each side, but across from each other. Here I had to drill out the holes for the steps that go down to, like, if a boat comes by the carrier. And I had to drill the holes out because the mold lines were so bad. Where the holes were supposed to be, they weren't. So, and later I had to drill more holes on them too. But I glued down the rear cannons, as you can see the other cannons on the side. I started cleaning everything up and getting everything done for the bottom layer so that I could put the top of the deck on. Here is me drilling more holes because Once again, the mold lines were so bad, I had to re-drill all the holes through. You know, I don't mind doing that terribly, but it still was annoying, you know, to not have a good quality kit. Maybe I've just spoiled myself with more quality kits. I went to glue the deck on. As you can see, I put the guns on each corner where I filed down flat, but this was a hassle because the two sides of the hole, the two halves of the hole didn't fit properly. They didn't fit properly on the deck, so I had to do some modifications, and then I ended up just using a bunch of super glue. This was probably the most pleasant part of the build because this was the one runner or sprue that was not all messed up and molded wrong. So it was really nice to have. It was refreshing, I'd say, to have something that was not all bunk, you know. So I finished gluing that together. I really enjoyed the details too. I skipped out in the video all the other little cannons and stuff that you can see on the right hand side because they're all the same. It was really annoying to put all of those on the boat because it was all just repetitive and a bunch of them fell off anyways. This plastic does not like plastic cement. But yeah, I liked all the details that went on that. Here I was going to glue down the command post, I guess, or the command tower from the carrier. I just used some more super glue, and I used a cotton swab or a Q-tip to spread out the glue, and then I used CA glue accelerant from AG, and it was, I'll tell you, definitely invest in CA glue accelerant because it makes your life real easy. Normally you have to hold it down for a lot longer than this, but just getting it flush, making sure everything was to the surface, and then spraying a little bit of that fluid around, it seeps in and it accelerates the chemical reaction with the CA glue, and I was able to instantly hold up the entire hole just by the one glue spot. So after this, I went and started doing the rest of the cannons. There's two up front and two in the rear, and they were pretty easy because they did have those alignment pins. I did have to file down and take off some of the flashing on them, but it wasn't that bad. Just glued down the little deck covers. I realized later after I had painted it and put everything else on that the deck was supposed to be wood, but I had forgotten, so I skipped it. It's gray. But that was everything completed. Off camera, I glued together the stand, and you can see all the bits and bobs on the everywhere else, the cannon and everything else, all the little poles and everything. I took half of the planes, and cut the wings off, and so that makes them in their folded position. These older planes you could unbolt the wings from the frame of the plane, the body of the plane, and you could rotate them and they would be in the stored position so that you could fit more on a carrier. Now our modern airplanes are just very thin and sleek and, you know, a lot faster. But this is how they used to fit as many as they could on board. But that one kind of came out all wonky because the glue, like once again I said the plastic hates it, but the CA glue kind of fell off and glued itself in a wrong position. This is the Fine Surface Primer from Tamiya. It's expensive, but it is really, really nice. However, you can take the Rust-Oleum primer, heat it inside a sink full of warm water, and it'll spray a lot smoother. It was time to mask the primered completed model for the little red stripe that goes underneath. I don't know what that red stripe is used for. I'll probably look it up eventually. But for us, we'll say it's for a little bit of razzle-dazzle. Now, lining this tape up was a hassle and a half. And as well as I could get it, it didn't come out right, obviously because of all the curves. It ended up being, it had to be lower on the other side because of that previous stairway that we had on the opposite side. Now, everything was taped up and masked, so we'll go ahead and take it over to the paint booth. Now, this goes without saying, definitely wear a mask when you are, or a respirator specifically, I would suggest, when you're painting. You know, all those paint particles obviously get in the air, even as much gets sucked out from the machine. There's still paint particles in the air. So I definitely suggest wearing a mask. It's not good for your lungs. This is a spoon thingamajig. Well, it's really just a spoon. One of the little plastic ones from I think Great Value or something like that. Whatever they are. It's like 100 of them for like $5, and they help you get a proper paint coating, and you can see when the light shines through, you can see if your paint is globbing in specific areas. But I ended up painting everything. I messed up and didn't, as you can see, there's red overspray. I didn't tape off the rest, and I ended up having to repaint that with the primer, and then there was gray primer blots on the red, so I just gave up. But it took quite a few coats to get everything done on the red. I probably would have rather just had gotten, for something big like this, I would have just gotten a thing of red spray paint. But I tried, I couldn't figure out how to put my thing down because I didn't have one of those little stands. I do now. But I proceeded to put it on the little rotating wheel, and it fell on the floor and spilled red paint all over my carpet. So that was not fun, having to clean all of that up. But after that, I missed one of the videos of me mixing up the paint, but I mixed up a navy blue, so just some black, a regular blue, and then a little bit of green, I believe, just to try and get the proper tone. But I cleaned it up nicely, painted up everything. You can see the dark splotch of where I didn't mix my paint thin enough, and there's splotches all over, which will be fixed later. But the only thing next to do is to clear coat it, and after clear coating I can put on all of the water decals. But that concludes the video. It came out pretty decent. Overall I enjoyed putting it together for my friend. So thank you all for watching, and tune in next time.